Kashmir. Right behind me, on this mountain, in these dense forests, there's an encounter going on right now. We are hearing intermittent firing. There are some blasts taking place from time to time. The encounter rages on in these jungles on that mountain behind me. In this encounter that started yesterday, so far, three security force personnel have lost their lives. They were killed in action, including two army officers, a colonel and a major, and a DSP of Jammu and Kashmir Police, Humayun Butt, also lost his life. Why has there been a spurt in militant activities in Jammu and Kashmir? Remember, there were two encounters taking place in a span of less than 24 hours. One in the Rajouri district, that's to the south of Pir Panjal, and the second encounter in Kukarnag area in the Kashmir Valley. To discuss this, we're joined by an eminent panel. We joined by, if we can have our panel up, yes, we're joined by uh, Zaffar Chaudhry. He's a senior journalist and a commentator. He's based in Jammu. Welcome to the show, sir. We are also joined by Major General Ashok Kumar. He joins us on the show. Welcome to the show, sir. And we are also joined by Lieutenant General KJ Singh, defense expert. Welcome to show, sir. If I may start with you, Zafar Saab, before going to the generals, what is the sense that you make of this spurt in violence? We're seeing a couple of things happening before this. There was a successful Amarnath Yatra. G20 meeting was done in Kashmir, and that was followed by a summit meeting in Delhi. Things seem to be looking up, but suddenly we're seeing encounters taking place both the sides of Pir Panjal in the south, in Rajouri, and to the north in Kukarnag area. And in both the encounters, security forces have taken casualties.
So it's indeed very unfortunate and tragic that we lost our valiant soldiers yesterday, but I don't see a spurt in the incidents of terrorist violence. It was just that because there were a lot of high news value events taking place over the last 2 months. For example, the Amarnath pilgrimage and the anniversary of August 5 and Independence Day, and then this G20. So not much attention had gone to whatever was happening. So there was an encounter in Pulgam in which we lost 3 soldiers in first week of August. There was an encounter in Riasi in which 2 terrorists were killed. There was an encounter in the interiors of Rajouri in which 2 terrorists were killed. So in terms of frequency of the incidents of terrorist violence, in terms of the scale of the violence, there is no change. It's only that this yesterday's incident, this involved senior officers, which is a very unusual. An officer of the rank of colonel have been caught in an encounter and have died in an encounter. I think the last such incident happened in 2020 in Kupwara. So it's just a scale that we are seeing. So there is not, any letdown in the spurt of incidents of terrorist violence. So in terms of the two incidents taking place within a span of 24 hours, so a grand success of G20 happening in Delhi, where India takes a global center stage, and nothing much that happened in Kashmir. There was no criticism. So it was natural to expect some kind of incident taking place around this time. And then when the event is taking place, a high-profile event is taking place of a global importance in Delhi, there is a lot of security preparedness in Jammu and Kashmir as well to put everything on alert. Once the incident is over, there is a little bit of a possibility of lowering of guard as well. But about the yesterday's incident, I think the operational details are yet to be available in the public. It's still not completely understandable that what kind of engagement was this, which involved senior officers of the rank of colonel, major, and Deputy Superintendent of Police. So yeah, so there has been going on.
Yes.
So there are a number of 6, 7 incidents of the chases, successful chases that when the security forces were able to chase away the militants. So this engagement is continuously going on.
So this is not a pattern, what Zaffar Chaudhry says, but Lieutenant General KJ Singh, the terrain behind me, this is a mountain, thickly forested jungle, and it's a very steep slope. the officers were leading from the front. But do you think there was some error in the SOPs that were not followed? Because we are told that there was a specific human int about the presence of terrorists in that area. There was a preparation done, and that's after that preparation the operation was started. But three casualties of security force officers, two from the army, one from Jammu and Kashmir police, in the first burst of fire. So obviously there was some errors, some lapses in the SOP. You would agree to that?
Zafar Saab, firstly, let me join you and all our fellow panelists in paying homage to our brave hearts. It's endearing that there is cooperation between agencies, army, the Rashtriya Rifle, there was special forces element, and also J&K police are fighting shoulder to shoulder. So to that
Yeah.
extent, I I am enthused that it's a fight which is a joint fight, and it our in our country there are different narratives, but DYSP Humayun Bhatt being there right in the front is testimony to the fact that people in J&K also want to get rid of this. So I take it this way. Now I come to your point, and I'll not dodge it. It's a fair question to ask. I feel it is little premature to comment on it because there was a specific intelligence. Now, was that intelligence uh, intentionally false, or had the people shifted their location after that intelligence of hideout was given to them? Those all issues need analysis. They cannot be commented on immediately. Prima facie, Zafar Saab, what you say tends to your mind says, this could be the reason, but it'll be good idea to sort of wait for this operation to get over and check out the full thing, because we are told that group is TRF and they have taken responsibility for this. So let that happen. But I will assure you that I know the corps commander very well. He served as a brigade commander under me. He's been the ADGMO, a very fine officer. I'm sure he's taken note of it. And if there is a mistake, Army would address it. They'll correct it. That much I can assure you. But
Right.
at this stage, it will be difficult for me to say that has a mistake indeed
Yeah.
taken place. But the
Right.
issues to be analyzed are that was the intelligence 100% accurate, or did the hideout change after that, or was it a trap? So all those issues will be analyzed and they will get to bottom of it. But I join you in saluting my brave hearts, and especially uh, the Kal Manpreet. And see, he's a CEO leading from front. On one issue, everybody wants to be safe, but he is living by Chetwood motto that safety, honor, and welfare of my men comes first. So I'll come in the line of fire. So he's there
Right.
setting the example. If we have more officers,
Right.
and hats off to your deputy SV Humayun Bhatt Sahab also. Hats off to.
Right. In fact, from those visuals you saw when we were speaking, there were visuals playing on the screen. The father uh, uh, of DSP Humayun Bhatt, you can see from those visuals, himself a retired police officer, an IG of the police, Ghulam Hassan Bhatt. You can see him laying the wreath at the coffin of his son, a resolute father, uh, indomitable spirit, looking like a frail man but strong willed. He went there, laid the wreath, and went away. Now, this is generations which have served the forces, and they have dealt with militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. So that is what is happening on the ground. Major General Ashok Kumar. We were also playing shots of those drones that we captured just a short while ago. This entire area is being searched. Multiple teams have panned out in this area, in this forested area, on these mountains, looking for these terrorists. Now, the police have come out with a statement in the morning. They have said that they have encircled a group of Lashkar terrorists, two of them, including Uzair Khan, who is the self styled commander of that group. And as we're saying, the TRF is just the other name of Lashkar. Major General Ashok Kumar, what is the sense that you get? This operation is going to prolong now. Obviously, the security forces will take their own time to zero in onto those terrorists, though it's a tough terrain, it's a thick jungle, and it's a mountain. So it will take some time. But if the security forces say that they have encircled the terrorists, then perhaps we'll have to wait for some time. It's going to be a prolonged encounter.
Thanks, Jafar, for giving me this opportunity. At the outset, let me also pay my homage to all the people who have uh, died in the highest tradition of soldiery. Since all the operational details are not available, I would like to comment on one thing. That is this Unit 19 Rashtriya Rifles. This is one of the finest battalions which Indian Army has at the moment. This is the
Yeah,
same battalion which was instrumental in eliminating Burhan Wani few years back. And I'm
yeah,
sure as this operation progresses, they will get terrorists to the place where they deserve. However, as
yeah.
to why the commanding officer got killed in the initial stage, along with the company commander and the police officer, could be a miscommunication or change in the intelligence input, or could be something more which can be honestly commented only when the details are known. But if you not go back only 2 3 months, if you go back about 6 months time in Jammu and Kashmir, terrorist activities are taking place, and while their frequency would have decreased, but their intensity in terms of the defense personnel getting killed is reasonably high. Just analyze the events in Rajouri and elsewhere in last 6 months to 1 year. So therefore, for Pakistan and Pakistan operated agencies, it is do and die situation, because the narrative of Jammu and Kashmir appears to have slipped out from their hand. So it is a last bit of effort. They are not able to do much because of the prominent actions by the defense forces, but these things will keep happening. And the operation which is currently on, I'm very very sure that all of the terrorists are likely to be killed and eliminated, and though the operation may prolong for a few more days.
Right, Zafar Sahab, but you would agree that the militants are changing their tactics, their handlers as well. We saw those areas, you know them very well, areas to the south of Pir Panjal, Rajouri, Poonch, even the Chenab Valley. They were militancy was wiped off from those areas, but now we're seeing a resurgence of militancy and targeted attacks on security forces time to time, not just in Rajouri but also in Jammu. And here in the at Kokarnag, which is just on the other side of the Pir Panjal mountains. So we are seeing clearly a changing tactics of militants. While the focus has remained mostly on central Kashmir, on South Kashmir, these are not areas that are in the heart of central Kashmir or South Kashmir. These are at the boundaries, on the foothills of mountains.
So I completely agree with you on that. I think there is a complete new strategy that they are adopting. The leadership and the terrorists themselves, it's an entirely new strategy that they did not use before. See, they will lie down for say 2 to 3 weeks, and then they'll come up again and do some kind of high-profile incident in possibly in an
Yeah,
area where the security forces were not expecting something to happen. Another thing
yeah,
that I want to
yeah,
put across for discussion and further thinking is that I believe that the groups that operate in the south of Pir Panjal, particularly in the Rajouri and Poonch area, are entirely different in their approach, in their strategy, and in their handling from the groups those operate in the Kashmir Valley. I think some of them they come, they execute an operation, and they go back in the thick of the night. So what they're looking for is that a high-profile incident, say once every month, so that the whole of the country keeps on talking about that for a month-long period. By the time you are able to come up with a new strategy, there is another track in an entirely different area. So you come up with a new strategy so that, psychologically, operationally, militarily, politically, in every which way, they want to keep you engaged for a very long time. So that's what I understand. If this incident that recently happened in Riyasi, when the details started coming up, that was unimaginable that an area like that could be infested. another incident that took place in a very remote area of Rajouri. That was also an area where no incident had taken place in, say, over last 20 years. So these were the areas which at one point were completely believed to be free of any kind of, even an iota of separatism or militant violence. So they're coming into those areas so that, as I have said on your show a couple of times before also, that the kind of heat, the kind of pressure that has come up on the terrorists and militants in Kashmir over last 3 to 4 years is the highest of its kind in last 30 years. So I think they have a renewed strategy to diversify, to expand, come to the newer areas, and widen the scope of engagement with the security forces in other parts of Jammu and Kashmir as well, particularly in the mountainous areas. And you know that these mountainous areas of the Pir Panjal are not the naked mountains. There are very thickly forested areas. So that's where they are doing most of the incidents.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's a very logical argument to put forth because places like Rajouri and Poonch, they are close to the line of control, so possibly they could be having a different type of a strategy while operating there, but an entirely different type of a strategy while they are operating in the Kashmir Valley. It is possible, as we are seeing more sort of targeted attacks or at a bigger level onto the south of Pir Panjal, but in Kashmir Valley, perhaps the way they operate is different. But
I
the
think
changing tactics have to be, yes,
if
yes,
the
but
army
general
officers,
thing, the
if
changing tactics have to be dealt with in the sense that we are seeing now they are sending weapons through drones, they are using technology. So, with those changing tactics, new strategies also need to be employed. As Zaffar Chaudhry was saying, they could have an entirely different strategy to the south of Pir Panjal, but in the Kashmir Valley, they would be operating at a different level.
See, what Zafar Chaudhry has said is eminently sensible. It needs to be taken note of. When we did our counter-insurgency operations, we all were told this, that once you saturate a place, it's a logical reaction for a terrorist to go to another place. He'll not confront you in your place of strength because you establish certain strength in an area and terrorist realizes that he has to get out of it, go to another area. So,
Yeah.
Zafar Saab, it's a very, you are talking like a soldier. So, I'm sure our generals will take note of it again. We are told repeatedly about this, that we have to take this into account. There is technology also coming in. And surprisingly, see, when we were used to train, uh, we always realized that a terrorist, he's a terrorist. We may hate him, we may despise him, but for his war fighting capabilities, you have to have any respect for him because he uses technology better than us.
General Singh, I may have to interrupt here because there's a lot of firing going on. You can hear in the backdrop. The security forces have entirely cordoned off this area, and there's massive firing taking place right now. Heavy firing going. It was happening intermittently, but now it's happening more frequently right here at the encounter spot. We are very close to the place where the firing is taking place. This entire area has been cordoned off. uh, I don't know whether you can hear those gunshots and those blasts, but coming back to the discussion, obviously the situation is very tense on the ground. Major General Ashok Kumar, this is what is happening on the ground. So obviously it creates a fear among the people, and we know that elections are around the corner. They could happen this year, next year, but they would take place. So before the elections, you would expect more increase in violence.
Yes, that possibility cannot be ruled out. In fact, one of the motives of the terrorists includes uh, attempting to put a psychological fear on the local population so that they are more inclined to provide them the logistic support for terrorist operations. They are more inclined not to participate in the developmental process. They are not inclined to be part of the government agenda, whether it is lieutenant governor's rule or the elected government's rule. So therefore, what you are telling, based on that, it is very likely that as we go ahead in time, the possibility of in increasing terrorist activities in the run up to elections cannot be ruled out.
Right. And Zafar Chaudhry, you would agree to that this is going to increase now qualitatively, perhaps not so quantitatively, but qualitatively we'll see more sort of attacks, targeted attacks by the terrorists, not just in Kashmir Valley, but to the south of Pir Panjal, also to create a sense of fear among the people. This has happened in the past, but perhaps this could repeat.
I completely agree with this. There are two things that have to be, kept in mind all the while dealing with this situation around these, the renewed new times in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly. One is that earlier, when you had a high-profile terrorist attack or some terrorist violence that has been taking for a very long time, and then there would be some kind of political response from the government, say, for example, a dialogue with Pakistan or a dialogue with separatist organizations in Kashmir, and then you would build a narrative that now, since this dialogue is going on, there is some kind of concession from the government. Let's allow this time for some kind of, put guns down for a while and allow this exercise to happen. But a time has come that there is no possibility of any concession on any front, if this terrorist violence is going on. So these two things have been completely put across by India as, not linked together. These are not to be, brought together that there is a terrorist violence, then we are going to do a dialogue with you. Second thing is that as earlier in the 90s, or you say that, the decade of 2000s, there was a strong leadership of the terrorist organization and the separatist organizations under which, as an umbrella, different outfits would operate. So, if you are able to do with those organizations, and there is a chain of command, there is some reaction down the line, and you are able to control something. I think the way they are operating now, one does not understand what TRF exactly is. What is TRF's relationship with Lashkar-e-Taiba? Does Lashkar-e-Taiba's cardon exactly, exist as it used to exist before? What is happening with Hizbul Mujahideen? What is happening with other terrorist organizations? So there are different, as I said earlier, that, the terrorists operating in Kashmir could be entirely different from those who are operating in the south of Pir Panjal. So there are different outfits, there are different handlers, there are different strategies, there are different motivations. So I think that is something that we need to keep in mind for our counter strategies, because this is a slightly difficult and complex situation to deal with.
General Singh, this is the time when generally things are hotting up in Jammu and Kashmir, because winter will set in, the passes will close due to snow, and then there will be less infiltration. This is the time to increase their cadres. We've seen lots of successful operations against militants in Jammu and Kashmir. Many militants and their commanders have been eliminated. So this is another effort by militants, by terrorists and their handlers to to push the level of violence in Jammu and Kashmir just before the winter sets in.
See, Zafar Saab, as a security personnel, we always remain optimistic. We always feel that we have brought this activity under control, and we are able to give some sense of security and stability. But I think the real security and stability can come when, besides security, there is a parallel process of dialogue and socio-economic engagement, because that is of paramount importance. So, regardless of whatever is happening, this kind of is not as if security situation has suddenly, it's only high profile activity which has taken place. So we should remain on course to set the stage for elections, to get a democratically elected regime in place. We should remain on course for development which is taking place, and this kind of small activities, unfortunately, would continue for a while till everybody realizes futility of this. So, all in all, I do feel that to say that all will be honky dory, even in winter there are operations which carry on. So they are gearing up for that.
Yeah.
So no, we can't unfortunately let our guard down. That's the problem.
Major General Ashok Kumar, the point here is that we have seen different phases in Jammu and Kashmir. There was militancy and intense militancy in the 90s. Then in 2000, we saw street protests, unrest. There is no street protest at all now. There's no unrest, no strikes, no shutdown, no calendar, nothing of that sort. But now we are seeing again a sort of a resurgence of militancy in Kashmir Valley and in areas of Jammu region. That is the point that Zafar Saab was also mentioning, that there are different strategies being employed. Perhaps it's also time to counter those strategies effectively in a different way.
Absolutely. But what needs to be clearly understood that Pakistan as a nation has been fomenting trouble in Jammu and Kashmir in particular and rest of India in general. And it has been doing that as a sort of proxy war because that is more cost effective way. But on 5th August 2019, when India abrogated Article 370, Pakistan, except making hue and cry and oral statements being given, could do nothing. And in the world, there was no takers of the Pakistan's agenda or stance. And therefore, Pakistan has lost its basic argument on Jammu and Kashmir to a large extent. Not only that, it
Right.
itself has suffered major adversities. Its economy is in the shambles. Its own installed and assisted government of Taliban in Afghanistan is actively opposing it in Pakistan through TTP and by other means. There is a problem on Durand line, the trade gate or the trade route which is available to both the countries has been closed temporarily, and defense forces of Pakistan are suffering in a big way. On
Right.
second hand, what is happening in India?
Yeah.
India has gained a lot. You see the SEO presidency, G20 presidency, lot of activities prior to G20, including in Jammu and Kashmir. So entire narrative has gone in a positive dimension for India. So both these things have widened the gap so much that probably these small activities through terrorists is something which Pakistan wants to keep its hope alive that it will be able to foment some kind of trouble in days ahead, and Jammu and Kashmir's attempt to revert to the full normalcy will not be possible, or at least it will be delayed to some extent.
Yes, before we go to Zafar Chaudhry, I may want to again explain the situation here. We are at Kokarnag, right at the place where the encounter is taking place. It's happening right behind us. In those thick jungles on the mountain, there is massive firing taking place, although intermittently big blasts we are hearing. The security forces have cordoned off this area. They are zeroing in onto militants who are hiding there. The police has said that it's a group of two Lashkar terrorists, at least two of them, led by their self-styled commander Uzair Khan. They're hiding in those jungles. In that, I cannot zoom in, but you can see it clearly just a few meters away. That jungle where they are hiding, and the security forces are slowly zeroing in. This encounter is going on. They have cordoned off this area from all the direction, and this firing is happening. From time to time, we're hearing blasts and we're hearing gun sounds. But coming back to you, Zafar Chaudhry, I was just wondering the internal situation in Pakistan. What's happening there? Political turmoil. There is economy is in a tailspin. Do you think all that also impacts the situation in Jammu and Kashmir? Perhaps to shift the focus from the domestic problems in Pakistan, they could, they may be, or they could do it in Jammu and Kashmir over the next few months.
So first thing I want to say before answering your question is that take good care of yourself also, because you are
Yeah,
there in the
I'm
ground
I'm
zero
doing
and
that,
it's
Zafar
being
Saab. I'm doing that. Thanks so much.
uncertain. So
Yeah.
I think any weakness, any trouble, any problem within Pakistan is never ever good for India. We must always understand that. There is no single, political command in Pakistan at the moment. If you go back and see the May 9 incidents across the country in Pakistan, you would realize that as it used to happen before, so there is no military command in Pakistan as well at this moment. And, terrorists have always been their state assets, and there is no central command structure there as well. So that's a cause of worry for us. So we need to be a little more watchful, because the way Pakistan is crumbling in a different ways, in a different, the kind of challenges they are facing. Some of the frustrations, these straight people, these people gone mad, could turn on us. So we need to be a little more watchful on that.
Little more watchful on that count, General Singh. The situation in Pakistan could have a possible impact on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. See what's happening in Pakistan. They are not conducting elections. The government is not hearing to Supreme Court judgments. The army is calling the shots. Their most popular leader has been jailed. All of those things are going to add up, and they are going to have some sort of a ripple effect in Jammu and Kashmir. Zafar Saab, you want to quickly come in before I go to General Singh?
Thing. So there are a number of evidences from past, a number of incidents from past when there used to be strong leadership in Pakistan, and we were able to extract commitments from them, and those commitments would hold for a very long time before those power structures would fall down. So at this moment, whosoever you talk to in Pakistan, whatever kind of leadership, I don't think anyone is in any position to make any commitment to anyone. So that is a troublesome situation for us.
General Singh, you want to come in?
That events in Pakistan are having two kinds of effect. On one level, our Awam in Jammu and Kashmir and in Ladakh is seeing that that's not a model that we want to follow. Somewhere this effect by some kind of percolation and osmosis is going in. They see what kind of chaos is there, what kind of breakdown of institutions is there. That is, see, in Pakistan also, the Pashtun Tahfuz movement shouts a slogan, Da Sang Da Azadi. Ki is this the Azadi we fought for? So, somewhere people in J&K will also be wondering that what is that Azadi we are seeking, and where will we head, and what will we get in this? So that effect is getting generated from there. The second issue is, I strongly agree with what Zaffar Chaudhry has said. When you have crumbling institutions, that's why I always say that Pakistan, even if it has to implode, it should implode in a controlled manner. Somebody should retain control, because unless, see, we have a ceasefire on LOC, which is going on from 2021. Why is it holding? Because there is a commitment given by army is being held. So we would want a situation that unless, see, it's very fashionable to say that democracy should come to Pakistan. But when you do not have enough democratic leaders, responsible leaders, then you have to allow somebody to rule. So I'm not a great fan of Pakistan army. But one thing is there, that even General Asim Munir, if he gains full control of his mechanisms there and is able to responsibly negotiate with us, and we have some confidence building measures, is not bad. Because whatever we might say, some back channel diplomacy has to remain, because there are emergency situations, there are natural disasters, a lot of things happen. And two governments can, it's not a kids game that two governments say hum katti ho gaye ek dusre se. Nahin, you can't be on that mode. I don't buy that argument. I say we will not negotiate, but we will keep channels open and we will negotiate on our terms. We'll decide what to negotiate, in what sequence, and what we can give you. So we have to retain the control of escalatory metrics. That's what I feel.
Right. Well, thanks so much, General Singh, to all our panelists. But before we wrap, I want to give a quick update. You can hear those gunshots. They're happening again and again. There's lots of firing taking place, lots of explosions happening. This entire area has been cordoned off. There are terrorists who are holed up, at least two of them. You can see media people ducking for cover as firing is going on. Behind me, on that mountain, in those forests, thick forests, there's a group of terrorists who are holed up, at least two of them. Police say they belong to the Lashkar. They're led by their self-styled commander Uzair Khan. This entire area has been cordoned off from all the sides. It's a joint operation by the police and the army. This encounter started Yesterday, it's been more than 24 hours. 3 security force personnel officers have so far been killed in the line of action, including a DSP of Jammu and Kashmir Police, Humayun Bhatt, and a commandant, colonel of the army, Colonel Manpreet, and a major, Major Ashish. And today, the bodies were brought down of both the army officers. They were flown to Srinagar, and from there on, they will be taken to their native states. But here, the situation continues to remain absolutely tense. There's firing going on. The security forces have encircled the militants, but it's taking time, simply due to the fact that this is very thick foliage, thick jungle that's providing cover to the militants. But security forces have cordoned off this area. There is possibly a contact that's been established, and that's why we are hearing repeated gunshots and explosions which are taking place behind me. So the encounter rages on. It's been more than 24 hours. Security forces have taken casualties, but now they're slowly proceeding on and zeroing in on to the group of militants hiding in those jungles, in that forest, a group of Lashkar terrorists. With this update, we'll wrap up our show for now, but we'll keep an eye on this story and keep you updating as and when the situation develops. For now, thanks for watching.
महफूज रहिए एंड खुदा हाफिज। हम आपकी सलामती के लिए दुआ करते हैं। आप महफूज रहिए प्लीज।
Thanks so much, sir. Thanks so much for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.